The church has always been interested in reason and faith, and the fact that our reason and our faith should support one another, and science is one form of exercising our reason. I've been pretty much studying it for my whole career. I did my undergraduate degree at McGill University in Montreal, and I studied what they called biogeography there. It was a mixture of biology and geology. Then I went on for a master's in soil and plant science at University of Connecticut, and that was when I was becoming a sister. And then I have my doctorate in environmental engineering from the Catholic University of America. And I also have a master's degree in theology, and I did quite a bit of doctoral coursework in theology during the course of my dissertation because I was trying to bring the theology into conversation with the science. Science and theology really do match up, and I teach courses on this at the university, and many of my students are surprised as well. But the church, the Catholic Church especially, has been engaged with science since the very beginning and has been a patron of science, has supported financially. We have the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, which actually goes back to Galileo's time. Even though we had a blip on the radar screen with Galileo, we have many instances of Catholic scientists, a geologist, the inventor of geology, who is a blessed now. So we will have, I think, some Catholic saints who are scientists as well. Environmentalism is definitely a moral issue, and we have this coming from the more recent popes, so starting with John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and now Pope Francis. And they really build on each other. And Pope Francis mentions that in Laudato Si, that he's building on the foundations that were built from John Paul II and Benedict XVI, as well as the Ecumenical Patriarch. And some people ask, is there some new teaching in Laudato Si? And one of the things I would say that could be called a development or a new teaching is this idea of our main moral responsibility is to God, to our neighbor. That's what we've always taught. But if you go back into the scripture in Genesis, it's also to creation, right? And Pope Francis is very explicit in numerous places throughout Laudato Si that our obligation is to God, to neighbor, and to creation. So he is really forcefully taking a step forward and saying it is a moral issue and it's not negotiable. It goes back to the beginning in Genesis. I was with Salt and Light in the production of Creation. When it came out, I stayed up all night reading it. My first impression was what a document of reconciliation it was. He was just calling us to really look at where we've gone astray and how our treatment of creation reflects something inside ourselves. And if we are unfair to the external world and degrading the external world, then it refers to something that's sort of degraded in our own hearts. And that's again why it's a moral issue, because how we treat the external world reflects something about what's in our hearts. I think also I felt how deeply Franciscan it was, and he does speak about that he was really doing this in the spirit of St. Francis of Assisi, and that St. Francis of Assisi embodied the kind of care for creation that he was putting forward in the encyclical. And I think as a Franciscan sister of the Eucharist, I was just thrilled to hear the way that he represented St. Francis and the deeply Franciscan nature of the encyclical. And yet at the same time, it was pretty radical. I was thinking, this is amazing. I've been involved in this for so many years, and I never thought we'd have a pope that would come out with something like this. In the beginning of the encyclical, he says, I'm adding this to the social teachings of the church. Environment is one of the key issues of our time in the secular world, and so the Pope is weighing in to indicate that the church isn't just to be kept inside the church doors. The church is engaged with the entire world, with the culture, and that's what our faith is all about. It's faith and works together. It pains me actually that we have this kind of split where we have within the Catholic Church even some who are very pro-life but who might not really respect the non-human creation or feel that it's important. And we have also many who are very much environmentalists who argue for abortion and for and that just isn't a consistent life ethic. So I think we need to try to articulate that in ways that people can understand, in ways that people can grasp. But you know, if we are pained by the death of a whale, which we should also be pained by the death of a baby, you know, the death of a human baby. The Creation series is a documentary series, and it's 6 episodes, and what we tried to do was highlight 6 principles for why we should care for creation. So we start out, for example, the first one is awe and wonder, that unless we start with a sense of awe and wonder, we can't really get into that idea of stewardship or the proper care for creation. We filmed all over the country, so we have various stories of the science and the theology coming together. Well, there are many resources available at the Salt and Light website, saltandlighttv.org/creation. So the series is there and you can watch it online. There's a study guide online that goes with it, so if you wanted to set up a study group in your parish or in your high school or college or in a seminary, you could use that resource. We have many other resources right on the Creation website.